There are so many reasons not to buy this bike, apart from the one that really matters, and that's simply sublime ride quality. My name's Guy Kesteven. I've been a professional bike and kit tester for over 27 years, and this is the Pivot Switchblade. So is it overpriced and outdated like it looks on paper, or proof that you don't have to follow fashion to still have a fantastic ride? So geometry, definitely on the fast handling side. For its category, 65.4 degree head angle. In the low setting, 75.9 degree seat angle. So that's what a lot of brands would call almost down country now, rather than 160mm fork, 142 rear end numbers. So while Pivot say it's all bike for all mountain or something, I'd say it's more all bike for all trails. And that also syncs with how it rides, because immediately it feels much more poppy and alive than other 160mm foot bikes I've ridden recently. Not least because it's a hair under 14 kilos, while something like New Santa Cruz Bronson is basically 15 kilos. With similar travel and similar purpose. And also that DW Link suspension on the back. Yeah, it feels super mobile. It's moving really easily. Underneath me I can feel that. But as soon as you put the power down, there's a nice positive stand-up sensation that really encourages you to get right up into Ryan's back wheel on the technical climbs there. And as you can tell, Ryan's on a mission today. Oh, we're going this way. Ah, the little bugger. He knows I don't like this one. So, this is a medium when I normally ride a large, so wait, 470mm reach. So, wait, I don't normally do that one. I always bottle out that one. But that's a good sign for what is a short and agile bike, just based on sizing. I mean, if it was a large, it'd be perfectly acceptable sizing, but even though you've got a moderate ride height, by that I mean I can't actually remember what it is. Super low, super short seat tube. It's 423 or something on this medium. Keeps the overall body weight, weight distribution really low. And the fact it just cut in and took out Ryan on that section gives it serious credit in terms of I'm concerned. It's just whew, bit of rim ding there, but down there loads of flow, plush but precise control. And Pivot typically put a bunch of volume spacers in their shops so that you're ready to remove some if you're not getting full travel. But this feels like easy access to the mid-stroke and then a reasonable bottom out resistance. So I'm probably going to leave those tokens alone. In fact, the whole bike just feels like it wants to be left alone and just ridden. Handling balance and just that little way, little pop and play. God, that used to be one of my old time writers' cliches, that did. Agility, should we say 3D cut and paste, properly get old school with the syntax. Yeah, that's the only one anyone ever complained about in a forum, but overused. Wait, I could do with a bit more rebound for that. But overall, this is a lovely little hopper, and lively feeling bike in an increasingly dead, longer travel world. See how it goes up that little section. Always a trial on most bikes, but again, that smooth moving front pneumatic shock, the DW link just ate up that step up. No interruption, speed or flow. Very positive first sensations on this Switchblade. This is always a good test section. Spin it in, head up. Oh, oh yeah. There's definitely some feedback through the feet. Bit more anti-squat than might be currently fashionable, but I'm all for it, to be honest, because it gives you that positive pedalling feel. So you actually have a sense of what your back wheel is doing. You can feather power to suit the traction or back it off so it take a bigger chunk of the terrain and then crank it down to lift and drive. So yeah, I guess I'm confirming it has a slightly outdated suspension feel, but considering I like it, I guess that means I'm slightly outdated too. And that previous gen box 36 fork, again, just lovely and supple, way better match. This back end, and you had something like the Grip X2, something seriously overdamped on here. Again, just a really nice front to rear balance. Max's tyre combo, delivering the standard issue control, but a really short rear end in contemporary terms. So a nice little squirt there, and whoa, boom. Lovely job. Nice little pop. And because it's short, just snaps out a bit easier. Even though it's the twin 29er, it's got real mullet vibes in terms of the handling. And it's got that real patter and kind of purr across the ground that you only get with really fluid, free moving suspension. And it just feels fantastic in terms of float and grip and playability. A really deft, delicate touch that over stiff and over damp bikes really miss out on. Yeah, well, you're notes in it then, Ryan. Ryan's ridden this bike before, so I'm going to shout out. Oh, keeps stalling me out. It's a dirty trick. Not a day to forget your gloves.
Wow. Ow. Good in my hand.
Oh, bless you. You're meant to be talking about the bike, not being a snowflake about the brambles.
No. Really poppy, lively.
Yeah, poppy tick, lively tick.
But very light steering.
Very light steering, yeah.
Yeah, almost too light.
Yeah, I think maybe a touch more rebound than it's running at the moment, but I like it. It reminds me of when you actually had to pilot a bike rather than just being a passenger.
Absolutely. I like it a touch longer.
Yeah, well, it's only medium. So again, you'll be getting 10 mil more. But the way it picks up speed, chases tail on techie climbs, Liking that, I don't trust you not to up, so I'm going this way.
Oh.
Ha ha ha.
Look what I did.
Yeah, well done. Come on, you get me now. Hey, Pidcock. Right, and Pidcock's me into the massive, what's now the jungle section.
Where the trail's going.
It's a memory test, not a handling test. Hey, I remember when this were all trees, and then it were all not trees, and now it's all grass. And this bike, because it's barely changed since 2020.
Can't take it.
Yeah, there was a 2022 revamp, but it just got half a degree slacker, slightly lower longer lower linkage to change the kinematic, but overall. Oh, and you officially couldn't run it plus anymore, even though you can still actually run this with a 27.5 2.8 rear tyre rather. So this is an old bike. It hasn't got fancy internal storage. It's got a really Arizona move of a couple of external tool points, one under the BB, which is never going to go down well in the UK. But that's why it's lighter and more lively, with that hollow core, carbon fibre layup, change for each model size, and fractionally different chainstay lengths on at least some of the bikes. Not all of them, and it's not a massive difference, but again, see, that's handling tightness. Here I am, where I want to be on the trail, still moving, if it wasn't for that canyon in front. Hey ho. I mean, obviously I could give him some more space, but this happens so rarely. I'm not gonna. He'll ruin me on the climb instead, like he always does. But oh, it's so smooth, flowing down there. And that little kiss of the chainring tells me that actually, in this low position, BB height's probably about right for this kind of riding. In fact, the whole setup, the tighter steering, the more, I'm going to say, yeah, 27.5 inch wheels rather than 29 feel of the geometry really suits the slower speed, techier stuff around Stainburn. Feels like I've got to add a bit more of my own body position input rather than just sitting there like a dollar per pudding in the middle, letting the bike do everything. Even the way I'm coming into these climbing corners, it's very mullet in that swinging the front end wide, knowing that 429, 431 back end will cut in really tight and track a noticeably different line to the front, which again isn't what you might want on your last run of a long day in Morzine, but when you got a power hour in on your local, that agility, that rewarding responsiveness through pedal and geometry, I'm finding it. I'm loving it. Straight up loving this Switchblade. It's called Switchblade. The reason it's called Switchblade, if you swap wheels around on it, but if you alter that meaning to that little, you know, favourite concealed pocket knife that can pull a blade on somebody instantly, then I don't think it's got any criminal intent, but certainly got those quick-mitted, sort of street smart, or single track smart manners that suit the name in that respect as well. But I will say, even with the saddle right forward, because it sags into its travel pretty easily, that 75.9 degree seat angle actually feels stiffer than that in reality. So I'm having to nudge right forward onto the saddle to replicate that poise of some of the most modern geo bikes. They've got a couple of degrees steeper seat angle, and also when you drop off a block under chain tension, there's much more of a thunk on landing as the wheels pulled forward by two different loads. So if you're not used to that, then that's going to feel a bit weird, whereas I've grown up with high anti-squat bikes for the past 20 odd years, so I'm ready for it and actually relish it, because it means I've probably felt more involved and more connected as I've levered up the lump in the first place. So as ever, it's all swings and roundabouts, but at least on the Pivot, definitely feels like a fun fair. Let's talk about, so this Switchblade has really won me over in terms of how it handles, but we still need to talk about what amounts to a significant herd of elephants in the room. And I'm not just talking about that internal storage, or I'm talking about the fact that it comes with a super boost 150. Oh, hello. Ha! That's not a trail. You see, it does turn in quick. Turns in too quick. Super boost 157mm back end, which used to be the future, but has now been proved definitely not to be. So, although it'll take a mullet back wheel, good luck finding one easily. Plus, you've got press fit bottom bracket, which again, they aren't nearly as bad as they used to be in terms of maintenance, but there aren't many mechanics that recommend you getting a bike with one, just because when it does get loose, if the bearings get worn, and you're on a very short fuse between replacing that bottom bracket and ruining your frame forever. And then there's the price. This Pivot is right up there with Yeti when it comes to blue bikes that cost a bloody fortune. Especially when the only thing that's up to date on this bike is that Exo Axis drivetrain. But then, if it didn't have PF bottom bracket, super boost rear end, you wouldn't be able to tuck that rear wheel in so tight, still have a ton of tyre clearance. And that super price, oh, come on, it's not even the tricky bit. And that super precise quality that Pivot are renowned for comes at a price in terms of using the best factories, materials, and making sure you're on site. QC, oh, no. Yeah, it's impeccable. Damn it. And I have to say, little squirts like that are where that more anti-squat can break out the rear wheel compared to a more neutral pedalling setup.
Come on, Pivot.
Come on. Oh no, triple fail. Yeah, not that there's anything bad with the spec that you are getting. Fox factory, and like I say, that slightly older Fox fork actually matches much better with that Float X rear shock, and you know, code brakes rather than the massive Mavens suit this more mid-weight, lively, poppy bike. And DT Swiss M1700 wheels always feel better than a mid-price alloy wheel should. But you know, carbon wheels are available, but they're a seriously pricey upgrade to either DT Swiss or Envy, on top of a bike that's already one generation late, which is when most brands now are trying to flog their kit off for half price. And in many ways, it's almost 2 generations late. So you wouldn't even be missing out much if you got a year 2000 Switchblade. Well, they are on an offer at the moment. But the other hack I'd suggest is dodging this XO Axis bike and picking up one of the XTR bikes. Well, XTR bikes, which have similar spec apart from the transmission, but £1,000 cheaper if you go for analog rather than wireless. Right, so I've come back to this climb because I need to know whether it's that short back end, short linkage responsiveness that's stopping this Switchblade getting up here. And also because I really like this bike and I don't want to end on a bad note when power climbs are so important to me. So, oh brilliant, my phone's playing in the back pocket as well. But let's go. Come on, Pivot. Come on. Yes. Yes. And again. Yes. See there, getting the right frame of mind. And that power kick, that drive is what propels you over the top. Whew. Ha. I'm stoked to take that off. And there's a ton of detail that's really easy to overlook on this bike. And that's the kind of thing Chris Kikalis specialises in. Because whenever I chat to him as part of a review, he's always gives super detailed, really interesting answers. So, you know, the fact it's got super short linkages and the bearings are set into them, so it's easier to press them in and out without causing long-term damage, gives it that really precise, clean feel. And the fact there isn't any internal storage lets them use slimmer frame tubes for a more flowing ride feel. And at the end of the day, when so many bikes in this category are now feeling so gravity biased, you know, so this feels like a bike that I could easily take to somewhere like the Peak District and look forward to riding everything, climb, descent and single track, not just chewing out the miles until I get to the descents or heading straight for somewhere like Winhill or Warncliffe. This is a true all day, all trail bike. I guess in the old-fashioned sense, to match its old-fashioned features. But you know what? Even with all those obvious flaws that would be easy to call out and be legitimate reasons to not buy, this is just a straight up, really fast, lively, luxuriously high quality feeling mountain bike. And for that, Pivot deserve serious praise, but they really do need to drop their prices and try and get more competitive if they're going to keep up with the other brands. So there you go, Pivot Switchblade. Basically a bike that makes absolutely no sense to buy for many reasons until you actually ride it and realise just what a single track sweetheart this Switchblade is. So massive thanks to Pivot for lending me this bike for this frantic first ride. I'll be doing a full tech talk around on the bike so you can see the various pros and cons of it up close and personal, so make sure you watch that. Massive thanks to my other industry channel sponsors for supporting the channel, which is why I can stand in a wood talking to a small black box about bicycles, and also to my Patreon subscribers who pledge every month via the Patreon page, and they get early, exclusive and ad-free edits as a thank you for keeping the lights on in the Guy Cares TV studio. So if you really like what I'm doing here on the channel, please consider subscribing via the link at the end. But subscribe anyway, click for notifications so you don't miss that tech talk round or any other content. Give this a thumbs up, like, and tell your mates about the channel, because that is by far the best way for it to grow. But for now, I've been Guy Kesteven on Guy Cares TV on the latest but also old school Pivot Switchblade.